No, the Switch 2 did not get hacked. Not on the way you think. And here's why it won't actually get hacked, at least for a while. Going across the internet, you will find many people claiming that the Switch 2 got hacked 1 day after launch! But that's a complete over-exaggeration. Here's what actually happened. On Blue Sky, David here showed off a pretty basic exploit. While as we can see here, the glitch is making the system display custom graphics, this is not really of any actual use. This can be used for homebrew or modifying the Switch 2 kernel, or getting root access, etc, etc. And David said this as well. If that's all you wanted to know, you can click off. But now, I'm going to go over why the Switch 2 won't be hacked for a long time, and also why Switch 2 emulation is not happening anytime soon. So here's a brief overview of Switch 1. The original Switch has a couple of models, such as the OG Switch, the Patch Switch, the Mariko Switch, the Switch Lite, and the Switch OLED. The original Switch had what is known as the RCM bug, a classic. You probably already know about it. This was a bug in the recovery mode of the Switch, which could run unsigned code, and this was actually a mistake on NVIDIA's part, not Nintendo's. This was patched, but these later Switch models were also able to be hacked using modchips, which required hardware modification. Many people don't actually know about this, but there's also a soft mod exploit for these early Switch units. For Switches on early Horizon OS versions, which is the Switch's operating system, you can use the caffeine exploit without using the RCM bug. Since that early exploit though, there's been no other software-based exploits. This is because Horizon OS is an extremely secure OS. And this goes into my first point on why a Switch 2 hack is unlikely soon. Oh, see? The Switch 1 had a hack on an early version. I'll just buy a Switch 2 and keep it on an early version as well. This is what some people may be thinking, but Horizon OS on the Switch 2 is the same very secure software that is on Switch 1. It's the same thing. The same one that hasn't had any exploitable bugs in a long time. Horizon OS is very secure. Here's a quote from SireZem, who is the developer of Atmosphere, the custom firmware software for Switch 1. As you can see, he clearly says that there is no exploitable bugs. Okay, but everyone knew that software-based exploits were just not feasible for Switch 2. What about hardware? Well, first of all, a RCM exploit will probably never happen again. And for mod chips, things are looking bad. NVIDIA seems to have upped their defenses this time, as can be seen by this keynote. I'm not super knowledgeable on mod chips, but by watching this, it seems like mod chips will have a very difficult time coming up. Also, if you heard Nintendo will brick your console for modding it, that's not actually true. The misinterpreted part of the terms is just saying that they're allowed to block you from their services if they want to. And if their exploits brick your console, they won't care, which is exactly the same policy they had for the Wii, the 3DS, etc, etc. The sad reality of Switch 2 modding is that it's years away, if it ever actually happens. If you're one of those people that think hackers will just always find a way, I want you to take a look at the death of iOS jailbreaking to see that that doesn't always hold up. That's also another potential video topic, by the way. And with SireZem also stating he won't make custom firmware for the Switch 2, the modding scene will look pretty different to Switch 1. And with Nintendo also putting bounties up for exploits, it's possible the Switch 2 could never be hacked. But even if it does get hacked, it's probably years away. Okay, but what about Switch 2 emulation? I think Switch 2 emulation may have better chances than Switch 2 modding, but its prospects are also not really looking too bright. First of all, a Switch 2 emulator is pointless if we cannot dump our games, which requires some type of Switch 2 mod. Secondly, the Switch 1 emulation scene has not looked bright after Nintendo's attack. You may have seen some of these overhyped Yuzu ports being shown off by the news, but these inevitably died off as no one had actual experience with Switch emulation. Most experienced Switch 1 emulator developers have either left the scene or have been barred from participating by Nintendo. This means Switch 2 will have a rough climb for emulation. With Switch 2 emulation unlikely to happen, the modding scene is not looking too good for Switch 2. In conclusion, if you're waiting for the Switch 2 to get custom firmware, or for a Switch 2 emulator to come out so you can mod Mario Kart World or something, you'll be waiting for a long time. Probably. I can't predict the future, obviously, but from what I've seen and known, this is the most likely outcome. And if the Switch 2 ever gets modded, it will look a lot different to the current Switch 1 scene.